Yeah, so yesterday we have seen, so we have discussed local variables, operators, conditional statements. Okay, conditional blocks or statements. Okay, so if condition we have discussed. So along with if condition, so we have one more type of conditional statement, that is switch case. Switch. Okay, so suppose if you, so whenever you write some if condition, the execution, how will it will execute? Okay, how it will execute. So this is the if condition. So we have different different if conditions. Okay, how the control flow will be done, how control will be go into the statement. Okay, so here first it will check this condition, first condition. If it is false, then it comes to the next condition. If it is not false, if it is true, then it won't come to the other else conditions, else if or else conditions. Okay, so one by one it will check, one by one condition. Suppose if you write hundreds of conditions here, one by one, hundreds of conditions. Again, so for example, let me write like that. When you are writing more than one condition, okay, every time it has to check each and every condition. Suppose if you were like condition is at last block, if your condition is last block, so it wastes the time to check all these conditions. Okay, suppose if a not equals to c, if a not equals to c. Okay, so here in this case, see a greater than b, no, a greater than c, no. Okay, again one by one condition it will check. So yesterday we have taken a equals to 10 and b equals to 20. So it takes more time to check all these conditions. Okay, it wastes the execution time also. So if you have number of conditions, okay, to avoid that we have one more type of conditional statement, so that is switch case. Switch. Okay, switch case. So switch case, while you are writing, so in this switch you have to put the condition. Suppose uh, so generally when to go with the switch statement and when to go with the if condition. Okay, so even though we have multiple conditions, sometimes we have to go with the if condition only. But coming to switch case, suppose if you want to compare with some raw texts. Okay, raw texts or raw numbers. If you want to compare with the raw text or raw numbers, match with the raw text or raw numbers. So here you are checking the, here you are checking the some condition. Okay, but if you want to compare with some raw text, in that case only we have to use switch case. Okay, so that is also one more difference. Okay, suppose I want to like check with some text. Okay, whether it is matching or not. Okay, so if it is matching, under that statement it has to execute. Suppose I have some number. Okay, so if it is matching with my number, then I have to do some operation. So in that case, we have to use the switch condition. Okay, so here you can put some variable name. Okay, variable. So here you can write, inside that you can write cases. Okay, switch case. Case. What is the case? Suppose if you want to match with the text, some text. Okay, so you can write like this. you can write your statements. You can write more than one case. And we have, if anything is, suppose all these cases are not matching with my raw text or raw number, some number, if it is not matching. In this case, we have one more case. It's like a else condition. So default case. Okay, in the default case, so you can write statements. Okay, so after each and every case, we have to break that switch statement. Okay, we have to mandatorily use break. Okay, break it. Okay, how to use I will explain with some coding. So syntax wise, so you have to write like this. So this is the syntax for switch statement. This is also to perform the action based on the condition. Okay, so let me quickly write switch statement. So here I'm creating one more class, conditional statements. Okay, I copy this entire. So here, why we are getting the errors here? So we need to declare local variables. Int a equals to 10, int b equals to 20, and int c equals to 30. That we have defined. Okay. So now if you want to write the switch statement, okay, instead of using if condition, if you want to directly match with some text or some number or with some expression, you can use switch statement. Okay. Syntax, we already discussed. Switch case. Okay. So value, key value. Okay. Suppose, so let me take the key as string. Here you can print this is apple. You cannot write duplicate statement here. Again, duplicate case you cannot write. Default, no match found. The switch condition also we use frequently in the testing. This is also important. Okay, so suppose if you pass apple key as a apple, then it comes to switch case and it matches with these cases. Okay, whether it is matching with this keyword or not, it will check. Otherwise, it will come to next case. If nothing is matching, it comes to the default statement like else block. Okay, so let me run it. See, when I pass, it is printing this case. Suppose if I pass banana, so it will print the next case. Suppose if anything is not matching, some hello if you pass, no match found. Okay, so instead of strings, if you want to pass character, if you want to pass number, that also possible. Okay, so here what I do is string one, so here int number, some number. Okay, so whenever you are passing some number, okay, the case must be again matching value must be number again. When you pass string, the matching case should be string. Okay, here here you are getting the issue due to you declared as a number, but you are trying to match with the string. So that is the reason you are getting error. Suppose if it is 10, suppose if it is 20. Okay, so some 10, 20. Then no match found if anything is not matching. So here if I pass 10, okay, so the match case will be executed. Okay, here not only printing, so if you want to perform some operation that you can perform. Okay, the matching case will be executed. Okay, okay, similarly you can pass any type of data, and when you are comparing with your raw text or raw data, okay, the same type you have to mention in the cases. Okay, so so along with the conditional statements, we have few more conditional statements. Okay, so using condition, if you want to perform operation repeatedly, okay, based on the condition, if you want to perform the operation repeatedly, we have looping statements in Java. Okay, suppose I have a operation, okay, that I have to perform repeatedly, okay, by checking some condition. Okay, in that case we have facility conditional state sorry looping statements. Looping statements. Okay, so and one more thing is, okay, inside case if you want to write if condition, some other condition, Again, switch case under another switch case also possible. Okay. If you want to write some condition, you can write some condition and you can print it. Anything. Okay. So again, you can write one more switch condition inside switch condition. Okay. So again, you have to declare the type. Some int, some key. Like this. You can write switch case inside and the switch statement. Okay. Yeah. So so before moving to like looping statements, okay. So we have one concept. So suppose I have this if statement or switch statement. Okay. So generally local variable, suppose if you create some variable inside some block, okay, that you cannot create variable with same name. Duplicate variable you cannot create. Okay. But you have a facility to create inside another block. Okay. Still it is not allowing. Okay. It is not allowing. Yeah. It is not allowing. So here the difference is, okay, let me declare one 40. Let me access this D here. Yeah. So here, if you declare inside a block that you cannot access outside. Okay. So when you declare inside a method, these local variables, you cannot access outside of this method. Similarly, when you are writing some switch case, switch statement or if statement, if you write inside, if you write anything inside a block, inner block, okay, if you declare any variable inside that block, that variable you cannot access outside of that block. Okay, you cannot access this D value outside of this if block. Okay, that is the reason when I try to print D, it is throwing the error. So the local variables always the scope is up to that block. Okay. So ABC values you can access in this if statement because you declared outside of these blocks. That is the reason you are able to access this ABC value. Okay, if you declare anything inside a inner block that you cannot access in the outer block. Similarly, in switch statement also same. Okay, suppose if you declare int key as 10, suppose if you want to print this key in this case, you will get error. This int key as you declared as 10 that you if you try to print in case 20 that you cannot print. Okay, up to this block only, up to this case but only you can access. Suppose if I declare int e equals to 50. Okay, if you try to print e, that is not possible. Yeah. So now we will discuss looping statements. Okay. So what are looping statements? If you want to perform some operation repeatedly, okay, we have to go with the looping statements. So we have for loop, for. Okay, the syntax is you have to start with some number. Suppose I want to perform some operation 10 times repeatedly. Okay, so you need to start with 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. You have to mention. Okay, so here the syntax is data type semicolon data type, sorry, some variable. We have to declare some variable, like how we declare. Uh, so generally, how we declare the variable. So that with the data type, the same notation we have to follow, and we have to initialize the value. Okay. So data type variable some value. So here you need to suppose if I want to check, if you want to print 10 times, if you want to perform operation 10 times, okay, you already know the value, right? In your mind, you already fixed like for how many times you want to perform that operation. So here you need to put one condition. Okay. So whatever the value you are storing here, okay, that value is lesser than 10 or not, you have to check. Okay, why to check I will explain. Value lesser or equals to 10, you need to check. So here you need to increment the value. Okay, increment the value you have to do. Okay, so generally to increment every time, to increment one by one value every time, we have incremental operators, right? Yesterday we have discussed. Okay, you can use plus plus or minus minus. Okay, this is the syntax. Okay, for example, looping statements. I want to I want to print some number 10 times. Suppose int, some a equals to some 100. Okay, this number I want to print 10 times. Okay, so generally to print 10 times, what we have to do? Okay, so like this, we have to write the 10 times, right? Okay, like this, we have to write 10 times. Okay, so here you are repeating the same duplicate statement. Okay, in this case, so unnecessarily, so it will waste the time to, so in the back end, you are unnecessarily wasting some memory, okay, to write these many lines of code. Suppose if you want to print this number some 1,000 times, okay, to write this code, your effort also will be wasted, and the memory space also it will waste, right? So that is the reason. So whenever you are performing the operation repeatedly, same operation repeatedly, okay, what you can do, so instead of writing like this, we have looping statements for loop. See here, iterator. Okay, what is iterator? I will explain. Okay, what is collection iterator? This I will explain. So why it is generated this code? So remove this. Okay, so you need to declare. Okay, so generally, so numbers we can take, a string we can take, anything we can take. Okay, some int I equals to 1. Okay, from 1 to 10 times, I want to print the same. I want to perform the operation. So here you need to check I less than 10 or not, you need to check. Okay, so Now, if you want to print that statement 10 times, you can simply put this statement. Okay, if I run it, it will print 100 10 times. So here it keep on printing. Okay, why it is keep on printing? Here, every time it is checking 1 less than 10 or not, it is checking every time. Okay, yeah, condition is true. Then again it will restart from the for loop. Again it is checking 1 less than 10. Okay, it will print this. Again it will go back to the looping statement. Okay, so it is never ending. Always 1 is less than 10. So how I can break this loop? How I can break this loop? Okay, every time if you increase the value, I value like this, if you increase the I value like this, so first it will print the statement, then I value become 2. Then it checks 2 less than 10 or not, it will check. Again, if condition is true, this will be printed. So similarly, I value keep on increases. At some point, it will break the loop. Okay. After 10 times, I value become 11. Okay. So that time it will check 11 less than 10 or not, it will check. Suppose if it is false, it will not enter into this particular block. Suppose let me declare I value as 11. Okay. So if I run it, nothing will print. So whenever you declare some variable, whenever you initialize some value to it, so it will check with the condition. If the condition is true, then only it will enter into this block. Okay, so if I put 1, the condition is true. Okay, if I remove this incrementing the value, okay, it will never end. It keep on running only. Okay, every time 1 is less than 10, it will keep on prints that a value. Okay, we have to break the loop. So we have two options. One is direct break. Okay, when you use this break keyword, okay, after printing first time, again it will break the loop. It will not go into the loop again. Okay, so suppose if I use this break statement like this, so it prints only one time. Okay, after printing one time, it will come out from the loop. Okay, break statement. Okay, so instead of breaking it with break keyword, what you can do is you can increase the value. You can increase the I value by using incremental operator. So in this case, so let me put it as equals, less than or equals, up to 10 only, which means up 10 times it will print this number. See. Okay, so instead of using this I value here, okay, you can declare at the looping declaration. Okay, so up to this part, it will be execute. Okay, then it will print this number. Then come back to this I plus plus statement. It will increase, then it will check the condition. It will increase, then it will check the condition. The same result you will get. Okay. So why these loopings are required? If you want to perform the operation repeatedly, suppose I want to print 1000 numbers. Instead of writing the statement 1000 times, you can simply write with the help of for loop. See, it is printed 1000 times. 100 is printed 1000 times. Suppose I want to print 1 to 1000 numbers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that I want to print. How I can print? It's very simple. So here you are passing this I value 1, right? Okay, instead of printing a, you can print I value. If you print I, first time it will print 1, second time it will print 2, third time it will print 3, like that up to 1000 it will print. See, okay. So here also you are performing the operation repeatedly, but this time you are printing I value. Each time I value will be increases, that value you are printing. Okay. So we have one more type of loop. So like for loop, we have one more type of loop. So every time when you try to like execute the operation repeatedly, so you have to check the condition and you have to perform that operation repeatedly. Okay, so when you are writing looping statement, so the condition also must be defined. Okay, without condition you cannot do that operation repeatedly. So if you don't put the condition, okay, there will be never ending. Okay, so based on the condition only you will break the repetition. Okay, so like for loop we have also another for another looping statement. Okay, so before going to it, so here, so I have defined 1000, right? I want to print up to 1000 numbers. So here I want to print only even numbers or only odd numbers. How I can do that? Okay, so inside for loop you can put the condition. Suppose if I value divides by 2, okay, not divides. So here you need to check the remainder percentage 2 equals to 0. Okay, if my I value when I divides with 2, if it is giving remainder as 0, which means it is a even number. Okay, otherwise it will be odd number. If you want to print only even numbers, yeah, you can put this condition. Okay, so generally for single statements no need to put this curly brackets. Okay, without curly bracket also you can write the statement if it is a single statement. Okay, so if you run it, it prints only even numbers. Okay, if you observe here 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, these values it is printing. If you want only odd numbers, you can use not equals to 0. If you get any other remainder or equals to 1, which means, so when we divide with 2, okay, the remainder always 0 or 1, right? So you can print odd numbers like this 1357, or you can put equals to 1. So it prints odd numbers. Okay, like that you can perform, inner side you can put the switch condition, if condition, like nested ifs. Okay, like that you can perform your operation. Okay, so using for loop, we already decided how many times we want to repeat the operation. Okay, that is the reason we are defining here. Okay, we have one more type of conditional statement, looping statement, that is while loop. While, in the while we have to, this is very important. While, okay, most of the time we use, of course, all are, we will use in the testing, but more times, like frequently we use while loop, for loop, if loop, switch statements frequently. Okay, while we use frequently. Yeah, so here you need to put the condition. Okay, so inside that you can perform the operation. Yeah, so syntax, not syntax. For example, if you want to print some 1000 numbers, Okay, if you want to print 1000 numbers, or okay, let me take that example. Some value less than or equals to 1000. Same condition I'm putting here. Okay, what is value? You have to define here. Int value equals to 1. Okay, print that value. Print that value. Again, if you use it, if you use the while loop like this, there will be never ending. Okay, it always print this one value. Okay, more than 1000 times, because it's always less than 1000, right? See, one will be printed repeated. See, it is keep on running. Okay, at right side corner bottom of the window. Okay, it keep on running. It is not ending. Again, we have to increase the value, this value, like this. Okay, now it will print up to 1000. So you can put if condition also if you want to print only required numbers. Okay, but what is the difference then? For loop also doing the same, while loop also doing the same. Then what is the difference? So if you know the particular range, so you have to go with the for loop. Suppose if you don't know the particular range, okay, so here you don't know whether it is like if you don't know the range. Suppose if you don't know the how many times I want to repeat, if you don't know, in that case you have to go with the while loop. Okay, so here the condition, so the condition has to be met to like repeat this operation. So of course here also condition should be met, but the difference is when you are like having some value, or when you have some count to repeat the operation, in that case you have to go with the for loop. Suppose if you don't know the count value to perform some operation, that time we have to go with the while. Okay, so these so you will observe the difference. Okay, once we start with the um, like real time examples. So we have collections options. Okay, in the collections generally, so we cannot expect the actual count. Okay, so in that case, okay, while loop we will use generally. Okay, to check the condition whether the value is available in that object or not, we will check, and based on that we will perform the operation. Okay, here whatever the value we declare here, okay, so you have to compare with that value only. Okay, so that is the difference. So we have one more type of loop, do while. Do while and condition. Okay, what is do while? So suppose if you are passing one, right? Okay, but if I pass 1001, it won't print any value. So it is not printing any value because this condition is not meeting. It is skipping this block, right? It is skipping that block. So in do while, what you can do is at least one time you can perform the operation without checking the condition. How we can do that? The same condition I'm using here, but value 1 I will declare it as 1001, do while. So here you need to put the condition, the same condition I am putting here. Okay, so print the value 1. Okay, now at least one time it will execute the block of statements even though condition is not meeting. Okay, so if I run it, See, 1001 it is printing. After that, it is checking the condition. Okay. Suppose if you take it as 1, okay, if you increase the value like this, value 1 plus plus. Okay, first it will print 1, then value will be increased and it will check the condition. Okay. So now it will print 1000 numbers. But when you pass the 1001, this time also it will print only one time. Okay. But from the next time it won't execute because condition checks after performing the operation. So here before performing the operation, condition will be checked in for loop and while loop. But in do while loop, condition will be checked after performing the operation. Okay. Yeah, this is also important for automation in Selenium automation. Okay, most of the time we use do while loop also. We have one more type of loop, enhanced for loop. Okay, that you can't understand now. For that, some basics required. Okay, so we have like collection of values if you want to store into a single variable. So we have one more type of variable, arrays. Okay, so while explaining arrays, I will explain that enhanced for loop. Okay, now you can't understand. Okay, any doubts in looping statements? Any doubts in looping statements?
No, Shiva.
No, right? Okay. Yeah. So we have one more basic concept. So I thought to explain uh, this object-oriented concepts. I want to I thought to start from today, but uh, so we have so if we start again, I have to explain tomorrow. So that is the reason. So I will explain one more other concept instead of starting object-oriented. Okay. So
Okay, Shiva.
from tomorrow I will start object-oriented programming and also types of variable I will explain. Okay, so today we have one more concept, type conversions. Okay, this is very, very important, type conversions. Type conversions. What is type conversion? Okay, what is type conversions? So if you want to convert one value, one variable value to another type. So for example, I have int a equals to 100. Okay, this is the int. Short also handle can store 100. Okay, so int 1 short 1 and byte 1 equals to 100. Byte also can store 100, right? Because the range, byte range is up to 127. This is 36,767. It is some billions of value. Okay, so coming to the conversion, suppose let me create one more integer int into 2 equals to, here if I want to assign 100, instead of every time assigning the value like this, what you can do is you can assign one value to one variable value to another variable like this. Okay, so same thing. So here the value is 100. Okay, so when you assign int 2 into 1 to into 2. So into 2 value also become 100. Okay. So coming to, suppose I'm creating one more byte variable, byte 2. So here I want to assign 100, okay, which is already initialized into int. Okay. So if I assign int 1 to byte type, it will not allow. The value is 100 only. Byte can store 100. It has the capacity. But still, when I'm storing 100 into byte 2, it is not accepting. Suppose short 2, if I want to assign 100 into short 2, it is not accepting. Similarly, byte 3, it is very important. Okay, please concentrate on it. If you want to assign short value also 100 here, short one. But if you try to assign, it is not accepting. Value is 100 only. But still, you are unable to assign one type of variable data to another type of variable. Okay, why? Yeah, so the reason is, so let me illustrate with some diagram, then you will understand.
Yes, Shiv, how are you commenting that?
So if you want to comment group of statements at a time,
Yes.
select those statements. Okay, press control question mark. Okay, so
Okay.
to select all these statements. Okay, so you can select like this also. Just press control question mark. Again,
Okay,
if
fine.
you press control question, now it is uncommented. If you want to comment again, you need to control question mark.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's the shortcuts. Okay. Yeah. So here you are unable to assign one type of data to another type, even though it has the capacity. Why? So let me explain it through diagram, then you will understand it better. What happened? Okay. So when we allocate memory, okay, so we have capacities, right? So let me open that screenshot. You will understand better. So yeah, data types, capacity, sizes. Yeah. So here Boolean has some one bit of capacity. Byte, char, short, int, long, float, double. Okay. So now so forget about this boolean. Okay, boolean, it's a completely different. It holds only like one value. Okay, that is true or false. Forget about it. So let's take numerical data types. We have byte. This is short. It has some big capacity comparing with this byte. So integer has some a little bit bigger capacity than your shortened byte. Similarly, float has the same capacity as int, right? Same float and int are having same size. See, int 32 bits, float 32 bits. Similarly, long 64 bits, double 64 bits. Okay, so this is long and this is double. So this is byte, short. This is int, float, long and double. So it has 1 byte. It is 2 bytes, 4 bytes, again 4 bytes, and 8 bytes, and again 8 bytes. So like that, we have capacities, right? Based on the type. So whenever you create some variable with some data type, okay, so first it will allocate the memory. Okay, this much amount of memory will be allocated, then value will be stored. Suppose if you create with integer, 4 bytes of memory will be allocated, and the value, whatever the value you want to store, that value will be stored into that memory location. So when you try to assign one value to another, like one from one variable to another variable, okay, like we did here. So in the backend, what happens is it tries to fit the memory so memory size into. So like suppose if you take short, short. So in like if you declare the value with short, so if you try to put the integer value into the short, it will try to fit this memory size into this short. Okay, so it cannot fit. It cannot fit into this size. It is not giving that. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so it cannot fit into this short memory location. Okay, so it tries to fit that memory, whatever the memory it is created, it tries to fit with that memory size. Okay, it is not fitting. Whenever it is not fitting, okay, you will lose some data. Okay, suppose if you take some big container, there are two containers. Okay, one small container and another one is some big container. So when you try to, okay, so the value, whatever the value it can be, okay, in both the containers. So when you try to fill from big container to small container, if any excess of information is there in the big container, So small container, you cannot fit into that small container, right? So the remaining whatever pour into the small container, that will be wasted, that will be flowed out, right? So in that case, whenever we have memory loss means the information loss. In that case, we cannot directly store one value into another value. So similarly, in this byte case, when you try to fit the short value to byte value, okay, it is unable to fit this memory location into smaller memory location. Okay, in that case, your compiler immediately throws the error. See, whenever you are writing program, suppose if you are getting the error, means it is a compilation error. Okay, so in backend, by default, it will be, the code will be auto compiled, you are getting the compilation error. Okay, so here when you try to fit bigger memory size value to smaller size, like bigger memory value to smaller memory value or smaller memory container, in that case, it directly won't allow you to fit that bigger memory to smaller memory, because when you are trying to convert the bigger memory to smaller memory, okay, so after putting into this memory location, the remaining memory, it will be ignored, okay, it will be wasted. So that is the reason your compiler won't allow you to store bigger values to bigger value variable to smaller type variable. Okay, there will be information loss happens. Okay, so then how I can store? Can't I store integer value into byte? So we have this restriction by default. Suppose if you are okay with memory loss info, if you are okay with information loss, then you can store it. We have other option also. Okay, what you have to do is you have to specify I am okay with memory loss. Okay, convert this value to my byte type. Okay, so currently it is the integer type. I am okay with converting byte type even though information is lost. Okay, if you are okay with that, so inform the compiler like, okay, convert into byte. Like this, you can convert. Okay, suppose if you print int one value, what is the value you assign to byte, right? Byte 2 value. So it will print same value, 100. Okay, then why it is giving the error? So it is able to fit the 100, right? But why it is printing? Why is giving the error? So when printing also there is no memory loss, right? That nothing is changing here. It is printing 100 only. What is the change then? What is the change then? Okay, so let me replace 100 with 128. Okay, up to which value we can store into byte? Up to 127 we can store. Up to 127 only we can store into byte, right? Suppose if you are trying to store 128 value directly to byte, so here what you will get? Error. It cannot store. But when you try to assign integer value to byte value, okay, if you tell the compiler I'm okay with the information loss, in this case, what it will print? Let's see. See, it is printing minus 128. Suppose if I make it as 129, it will print minus 127. Okay, so here if I take 130, it is printing minus 126. Take 1000, Okay, you are getting minus 24, which means you are losing the information, right? So you have to accept the value as it is, whatever we have in the integer. Okay, that is the purpose. You are assigning the value to byte. Whenever it doesn't contain that capacity, okay, so the information will be loose. Okay, so you are getting minus 24 means you are losing this entire data. Okay, so in type conversion, okay, so basically there are two rules. Okay, smaller types can directly store into the bigger types. Smaller types can directly store into the bigger types. Suppose int 3 equals to, if you want to store byte value, byte 1, yes, you can store directly, because information will not be loose. Okay, so you can directly store smaller value to bigger value easily. Okay, bigger value easily, shorter byte, it can fit. We have that facility. But when you are storing bigger data type value to smaller data type, so a bigger memory location to smaller memory, in that case, your compiler won't allow you to store directly, because it knows that some information will be loose if you do it directly. So it takes your consent, like it takes your confirmation by this notation. Okay, so these are we called as implicit conversion and explicit conversion. Okay, so type conversion are two types. One is implicit conversion and explicit conversion. Okay, so basically it checks one more condition. Okay, not only these two, one more condition it will check. Okay, so first one is, so memory can be fit or not when you are converting. Okay, if it is okay, if it is able to fit the memory, then it won't give you any error. Okay, like this. And second condition is whether the information is losing or not, it will check. Even though you are storing into bigger to small or smaller to big, it will check the information is losing or not, it will check. For example, float, some float 1 equals to some 100.5. Okay, 100.5. Okay, what is the size of float? So float size is 4 bytes, right? Suppose if I want to store float value to integer, again it will give you the error. Why it is giving error? The capacity is same. The capacity is same, but still it is giving the error. You are not able to convert like float to int. Okay, not only float to int. Suppose if you take the long one, if I try to store float value to long, still I'm not able to store. So it has very huge capacity. Okay, so double than float, but still it is not allowing. Why it is not allowed?
Because it is losing the information.
Yeah. So compiler, along with the size, it also checks the information is losing or not, it will check. Okay, suppose if I assign float to int, okay, so in integer type you can store only integer values. You cannot store floating values. You can store only normal numbers, not floating numbers. Okay, suppose if you convert into int, so long also if you convert into int, okay, so long also if you convert into int, suppose if you try print this float value and int long value. So int value and long value. So see the difference. So here the float value is 100.5, but it is printing only 100. Why? Because you have converted into integer or long. You can take long. So here you lose the value dot 5 value you lose here. Okay, so here loss of information is there. Okay, so whenever you are converting one type to another type, so it always checks the memory size first, then it will check the loss of information. Okay, so whenever you are able to fit the value, in that case first it check the memory size, even though you have the capacity to hold that value. After that it will check whether information is losing or not. Okay, so type conversions basically implicit conversion. What is implicit conversion? What is explicit conversion? Okay, whenever you are assigning smaller value to bigger value, okay, you have assigned smaller variable value to bigger type value, right? This is implicit conversion. Okay, you converted this byte value to integer, not you. Your compiler is by default, it is implicitly converting your byte value to integer value. Okay, so coming to explicit conversion. So here, if you don't specify this, okay, it will give you the error. Okay, so you wantedly converting this float value to integer value. This is explicit conversion. Okay, explicit conversion. Okay, implicit conversion. So your compiler automatically converts smaller value to bigger value without giving any error. But coming to bigger value to smaller value, so you have to specify the conversion. Okay, you are only specifying. That is the reason this is called as explicit conversion. Okay, implicit, that is the difference between implicit conversion and explicit conversion. Okay, whenever losing the information, so we have to convert it explicitly, so that comes under explicit conversion. The notation to convert explicit conversion is you have to specify the type, okay, to which type you want to convert it. Okay, getting or not? Okay, for example, string 1 equals to 10. So when you try to print string 1, okay, so it prints value as 10, right? By looking at this value, it looks like number only. But if you try to store into integer, string value to integer, it is giving the error. Okay, it is giving the error. Or take long also, long 1. If you try to store to long, okay, it's exactly looks like a number, but when you are trying to store, it is not allowing. Okay, so why it is not allowed? Okay, you might feel that, so we have option, right? So implicitly it is not converting, right? So you have option for explicit conversion, right? So you can try for explicit conversion. So even though I use explicit conversion, still I'm getting the error. Still I'm getting error. Then how I can convert string type of data to my required type? String type of data to my required type. How can I convert? So implicit is not working and also explicit is not working. Okay. So to convert string values to our primitive data types or any other data type, so we have separate classes. Okay, not training classes, separate Java classes to convert string value to our primitive data types or integer, float, number data type. Okay, character if you want to convert. Okay, so those classes we call it as wrapper classes. Wrapper classes. Okay, so what is wrapper class? All these things we will discuss. Still we didn't start this class concept, right? Okay, once I explain the class concept, that time I will explain what are wrapper classes. Okay, how we convert string type to our required type. Okay, so we have one more thing, char. Char1 equals to, you can store any number, right? Some digit, some number you can store, any single character or single symbol. So this character value, so it occupies 2 bytes of memory. So this value you can directly store into some int 6 equals to char value you can directly store into int. Okay, so let's take short also. Short 3 equals to char 1. Okay, so here short is not allowed. Okay, short, even though short has the capacity, short is not allowed. Okay, but integer is allowed. Why integer is allowed? Okay, so by default, so we have, what is the capacity of short? It has capacity up to 32,767. Okay, so if you take the character, okay, so 0 to 255, the capacity is 0 to 255. Okay, short has the more capacity than character, but still it won't allow us to store into short type. Suppose if you try to convert, then it will allow. Why it is allowing? Okay, so whenever you have bigger capacity, that time it is not allowing, but when you convert, it is allowing. But in this case, here also you have bigger capacity, but still it is not showing any error. Okay, so let me print char values, then you will understand. Char 1 int 6 short 3. See, it printing 35, int also printing 35, but so in this case, integer case, it is not throwing any error, but short case it is throwing the error. So generally, so if you want to like declare some number, okay, most of the time we start with integer. Okay, we start with the integer most of the time. So byte and short we use very rarely, and also using methods also we can store the data, right? So there also, suppose if you try to create a method, if you try to store some value into that type, generally it suggests you to use integer and above data type. Suppose I have a method, some addition. Okay, result value if you want to store. If you don't want to store, you can use void. Void is nothing but empty. It won't create any memory location. Suppose if you want to create memory location, you have to use the data types. Okay, let's take short as a data type. Whenever you are allocating the memory, so through the methods, you have to store the value. Okay, using return keyword, you can store the value. Suppose 10 plus 20. Okay, so it is not showing. Okay, let me take byte also it is allowed. So I think from 11 onwards, so they are giving the access, I think so. Okay, so generally, okay, let me take some. So what is this notation? I will explain later. Okay, what is this notation? What are these values? I will explain later. Those also local variables only. Those are also local variables only. Short and short. Okay, see. So here you are passing short value, and again you are passing short value. So when you perform the operation on short values, the result also short. C equals to result also should be short. Why it is showing error? Okay. So this is A, this is B. Okay, fine. So return C. This is also fine. But why A plus B is giving the error? Okay, so you are performing operation between short and short only, but still you are getting the error. Okay, so but if you use int, it won't give you any error. Okay, but when you use short, it is giving the error. Okay, so the main thing is, so most of the time we use integer as data type for numbers. Okay, so byte and short very rarely we use. So integer type only we use. So that is the reason your compiler when you assign character to integer, it is not giving any error. But coming to short, okay, it is giving the error because of while performing the operation. So we may get some error in the future. We may get error in the future. So that is the reason it is not allowing. Okay. So here also, when I try to perform operation between two variables, still it is not allowing. These two are short variables only, but still it is not allowing. Okay, so you can return this as int, or you have to convert into short type. See, here when you put short like this, again you are getting error. Okay, whenever you are performing the operation, okay, so you have to give the parenthesis to that operation. Okay, still it is not allowing syntax short. Okay, put it into the brackets. Okay, so again you have to, so sometimes it won't give you error. Okay, so you can directly put int and you can put the brackets for your data or the operation. Sometimes it gives. Okay, so here you have to convert into short type even though you are performing on the short variables. Okay, so because your compiler, so in the future, so it may value might increase. Why value might increase? Okay. So C value, so what is the capacity of short? It is 32,767, right? So through A you can pass, 32,767 up to, okay? So let me remove these two here. You will understand it better now. Short A equals to 32,767, okay? And short B equals to 32,767. So when you perform the addition operation, it becomes how much? It becomes some 68,000 something, right? 65,000 something. Okay, that is the reason it is not allowing you to perform the operation. I mean, not allowing you to store into the short. When you are performing operation, so most of the time we use integer or long. Okay, so this value is 65K. So you cannot directly store into short. You have to convert into integer. Sorry, short. Okay, if you remove this parenthesis, what happens is it converts this A value only to short, not B. Again, this will be problem. So you have to put the brackets for your expressions. If you want to convert only B value, then it's okay. Or A value, it's okay. But if you want to convert the entire value, put the parenthesis for that expression. Okay. So conversion from one type to another type. Okay. There are two types, implicit conversion and explicit conversion. Okay. If you want to convert string to some number type of variable, I mean number type. So again, you cannot convert with implicit and explicit conversion. So we have some separate classes. Those are wrapper classes. So once we start the object-oriented programming, then you will understand these wrapper classes. Yeah. So let me stop recording.